Welcome to the Fox Den Podcast, where leaders gather to grow.
Well, welcome into the Fox Den, everybody, for a great episode. Once again, a place where leaders gather to grow. Randy Fox, your host today. And we always come together to just dive into a couple of areas to help each of us grow on our journey, both personally and collectively for our organizations. And today, I have a longtime friend, a business owner for more than 2 decades. Laura DeRousse is in the house, in the den. Welcome to the party.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Laura has a great business that, and I don't want to give it all away, but really, it's really centered on helping other businesses differentiate themselves, all through service, through experiences, things that help with client retention, because it can be really expensive to attract people. But I want to start first with, having had, how long have you had the business now? Remind me exactly.
So I'm excited to share that on May 29th. So we're coming up on our 22nd birthday.
Okay. So yeah, we're almost a quarter century in.
Yes.
And obviously in that time, the world, people, business, how you lead teams and lead as a, even when you're selling, right? You're leading your client base.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of this conversation. It's not just about leadership by position, but how we influence and interact with others. Let's just kind of start with, from 25 years ago to now, what are some of the big changes that people need to be kind of thinking about when it comes to working and leading others? And what are some of the things that you're like, hey, this is the tried and true, and it still applies today? Just kind of walk our listeners through some of those things.
Yeah, so I would say that first, starting with kind of what stayed the same, what's tried and true, vision still matters, really important. And people being seen and feeling valued still matters also. And both of those things apply, as you said, across the board, whether it's people that you're leading that work for you or clients that you're working with. You still need to have a vision in both cases in order to get them to follow you. And when we're talking to clients, we have to be able to express to them what the vision is for their building, their tenants, how we see our service supporting that and helping them. In the same way that with our employees, they obviously have to understand our vision for the business. They have to identify with that vision, want to be a part of that vision. That's really important. One of the things that my father always told me, my father was a very successful entrepreneur and someone that I consider like my number one mentor. He always said, authority comes from below, not from above. And I always remember that because it's sometimes leaders think that they're in charge because someone above them knighted them and gave them a title and said, you're the boss. But the problem is if people below you don't grant you that authority, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to follow you. If they don't agree with your vision or approach, they're going to find ways to go over you, around you, under you, undermine you. And if you try to react to that by leading with fear, then they're just going to leave you. And then pretty soon no one's working for you and you are leading nobody. So, and
that ties into your second piece here of what hasn't changed is the value. People that you work with, around, above, below, serving. What are some of the things that you do so people can be seen and be valued? And I think where our world is now today, it's so important that people feel valued in what they do. The loyalty aspect is gone totally if people don't feel valued.
100%. And so when we're dealing with, our team, it's a lot of it is empathy, right? And understanding where people are in their lives and being able to relate to that. And really across, I'd say like both of the prongs that we're talking about, clients and employees, just using that empathy to make it the issues about them right? And not about us. And so with clients, similarly, being able to express that this is for them, using more kind of you thinking instead of we thinking when we're talking to them, not saying like, well, we can do this and we can do that. It's more about you will benefit from having this service or having this experience in your building. Your tenants will be excited. That's going to help you. It's going to help them. So really just kind of using that as like the lead focus, I think, is really important. And being flexible, again, in both cases with our team, being flexible, kind of gone are the days of watching the clock and it's 8:30, you're not here, and demerit, you know what I mean? Like that just doesn't really work anymore. But similarly with clients too, we have to be flexible. We have to hear them. We have to understand what they're looking for. We can't come in with a mold and expect them to fit into it. We have to treat each of them individually. We can't just try to apply the same methodology for one client to this client, because all their needs are different. And
that's how you show. Yeah, that's how you show that you value them uniquely, not just value their business, because you want to take care of their needs. And to be a little more clear for our listeners, so you're working with a variety of commercial building owners or managers throughout some large cities, primarily Dallas and Atlanta and Chicago, and expanding as you continue to grow. And you're providing not just gifts, but also actual events and organizing experiences so that their tenants are more than just taking up space, paying lease. They're actually creating a family and a community, and you're helping them differentiate themselves and bringing in unique experiences. So when you really talk about valuing people, you're extending that all the way to the uniqueness of their tenants, of their community, because you can't do the same things in every neighborhood or in every city or for every client of yours, because their people are different. And so when you talk about this, I know you're living it out.
Right. Absolutely. And that's our niche. We work exclusively in commercial real estate. And that's our I guess our vision for our business is to help those landlords. We want to make the workplace exciting again. And we want them to be able to differentiate their building by showing their tenants, this is a great place to be. You want to be here. You want to lease space here. And our building is different than the building across the street because we can offer you this culture that is a better fit for you than the building across the street. And it actually trickles down to those tenants' employees, right? So that tenant company can now better retain their employees because their employees like where they're working and they like coming to the office every day, and they'll think maybe twice before leaving and going to another company that has an office in another building. I'm going to miss these experiences. I've made friends here in this building because I've been coming to these experiences, and I like, the people that I work with beyond my office, but also in the building. So it really kind of does, like you said, create that community within that space. So.
Yeah. And that all ties into the idea that you have a vision, your clients have a vision, showing value and empathy to others. It is all wrapping up into those things that really work, but you have to be intentional and keep doing them. So now let's jump to, well, what are some of the things, right? Because everybody's life is very different. The world is constantly evolving. Business changes. There are things like we've talked about that leading people and serving people that don't change, but there are some things where you have to continue to adapt. What are some of the things that really jump out that people could maybe benefit from them? And obviously we have people that listen that could be educators, and they can be in healthcare and a whole variety of things. But what you're talking about really is how we relate to people, how we see value in them. But what do we need to change Oh, I've done it this way for decades. Why do I need to change? We hear a lot of that. I hear a lot of that on the road. People believe that what they've always done will always work. And what I say is what got you here will not necessarily get you there.
Right.
And so we have to be ready to continue to make changes. What are some of the things you're seeing?
So it's interesting because in the industry where we are, and I can mention that I used to be in the position that our clients are in today. So that's where my career started. I was a property manager. I was doing the job that our clients are doing. So I have a unique perspective on their needs and expectations. But I started in that industry, I'm totally aging myself, but in 1993. So we're going back several years. And to see what's changed between then and now in our industry is incredible. I mean, we're going back to when you used to have to wear a suit every day to work. I had to wear closed-toe shoes, always wear hose. You always had to be at work on time and leave. No one left right at 5 either. You were always kind of like, well, I don't want to look like that over anxious person that's just bolting out the door. So I'll stay till 5, 10, 5, like all those kinds of old school thought processes. But even in terms of the tenant experience, the part that we work in most, I never thought I would see the day that we would have alcohol in the middle of the afternoon in an office building. I mean, I tell this story all the time. I can remember way back in the beginning of my career going to lunch. There was a certain vendor that used to take us every year at the holidays for big steak lunch at Roost Chris. And every time he would order a big juicy glass of red wine. And we were always like, I can't believe he's doing that. Like, my God, it was like so scandalous. And now it's like part of what we're doing is we're hosting happy hours for buildings. And so I feel like that example alone could just demonstrate how over time things have evolved and changed. And you just have to be willing to listen, read the tea leaves, understand where things are going. We actually have some clients that are still that old school where they're kind of resistant to hosting these happy hours. They don't feel right about it. And their tenants want it though. And so we have to help them pace them forward so that they can stay competitive, because if you're not adapting and kind of listening to what your clients want, then you're going to miss opportunities to please them. And then if you're not taking those opportunities, they're going to go to someone else who will. And so you don't want those tenants leaving because they think another building's more fun or is more engaging. So I think really that's the key. And I feel like all these things just are transferable to employees too. Same thing. Like, now we have a much more casual dress code. I mean, there was a time where you wouldn't ever think of wearing jeans to the office. And our dress code for a long time, if you could believe it, up until like last year, we still had that you can wear jeans in the office. And then this year I was like, this is stupid. Like, because by the way, guess what? I want to wear jeans to the office. And yeah, I run the place. So I think I could say that's all right. So we changed it. So it's just, I think really just, again, being open-minded, understanding, reading the tea leaves, where things are and where things are going, and to keeping your ear to the ground, I think is important.
Well, I love your examples though, because it doesn't matter where someone's working or even transferring it, right? We're both parents as well. Mm-hmm. You are a leader of your children when they're in your home. There is no greater responsibility as a leader than how we prepare our kids for launch, like I like to say. It doesn't mean we won't always be considered, mom or dad for their entire life. But when they become a grown adult, our role as a leader changes. Yeah. But when they're a kid, what you're talking about is the same. And it doesn't mean that, well, just because something's cool in culture, because it goes, I want to tie this back to the beginning. You're not changing and sacrificing your vision, but what you are doing is understanding what can still work, what can still attract people, what can I do that affords people flexibility in their life. Not every job can work remotely every day, but some can, or some can some of the time. And I hate to bring up so I won't say the word, but we know back about 5 years ago, the world was kind of shattered, and we didn't all make the right decisions in how we handled a tough, challenging time. We're still having some repercussions from that, but I think something it did teach us was that we were maybe holding on to things or believed that certain things had to be a certain way, and it awakened us that it didn't necessarily have to be. That we could be looking at things and questioning ourselves and saying, like you were with the genes, it's a lighter example, but what if we looked at that in our lives, our organizations, our schools, our healthcare system, wherever it is, as a leader, to say, what could benefit from maybe being different? What if we're asking and I'll use the term stakeholders, because that encompasses anybody that we touch. What if we're asking them, like, what do we really need to hold on to, or what we could change? I love these examples because you said it. I didn't say it. I'll repeat it, though. Some of them are stupid, and we're holding on to things that really don't impact. And at the end of the day, here's what it's about, right? This podcast is really a place for leaders to grow. We want to help them grow individually, but we also want them to help grow their influence collectively at work and at home. And if you're holding on to something just because that's all, how we've always done it, but maybe there's a better way that actually changes outcomes and experiences and helps people's lives and your organization's results be better, then we got to set our pride aside. We've got to open up our eyes, like you said, have to read those tea leaves and say, what is really important here? And I think you've really given some great, examples. We've got a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you think we need to make sure our following here gets today?
Great question. I would say that, sometimes things, when we're going through some of these changes culturally or things we're talking about, we're looking at like, okay, do we need to adapt and maybe, let people wear jeans and be more flexible and all those kinds of things. Sometimes it can feel chaotic. And that's why I think a lot of people resist those changes. And I've always learned that through chaos comes opportunity. That's another one of those kind of adages that I live by. And I found that is always true. It just seems to be like one of those laws of the universe or something. But when things start to feel like they're being shaken up, that's when there's the greatest opportunity to advance, to grow, to push into, new opportunities. I just finished reading a book by Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way. And I felt like, wow, just reading that was very eye-opening, learning how you can shift your perspective on things and see things through a different lens. And that sometimes these obstacles that are coming at you, don't resist them, kind of lean into them and realize like this is here to point you in a different direction. So if you kind of follow that path, you can find that it's actually leading you where you're supposed to go.
Which is what this is all about, is about growing, right? And setbacks can be set ups. And I love that. I mean, you've had some great little nuggets today. I love the authority comes from below and not above. And this adage, right, where chaos gives you an opportunity to really grow. And I had some people, a team that I was coaching for about the last half of year, and there was a lot of change happening for them. They were going through a whole reorganization, and one of the things that we kept reiterating was that healthy things change, right? And healthy things grow. Like you think about a kid doesn't stay that size. They don't stay that maturity level. You plant a plant in the backyard. It doesn't stay that same size, right? We want things to change and grow until it like maybe impacts us.
Yeah.
And then we don't want to be, challenged to grow. But I love that. It's a good spot to stop today to say, hey, vision and valuing people, being able to adapt and see that change can be a good thing, and recognizing that it is actually an opportunity to grow. That's really what we're all about. And I think we've given people a lot today where they've been out walking the dog or on a quick walk at lunch or wherever they're checking us out today. I appreciate the listeners being with us. And certainly, Laura, you being with us today.
Thank you.
And if anybody wants to connect with you, what would be the best way that they could reach out and get connected with you?
So I would say you can obviously look for me on LinkedIn. Just search for my name, Laura DeRousse, or email laura@tbpsinc.com. Those are probably the best ways to connect with me. And if you are just interested in following our fun Instagram page, you can do that too, TB Premier Services. We post a lot of fun events, and I've been really into like the memes lately, so I'm doing a lot of fun things with memes as well. So you can check it out.
That's cool. Well, thank you for being with us again. Thank you, listeners, for joining us as always. We'll be back again with another great episode in the Fox Den. Until then, always remember that the world is waiting for you. Have a great day, everybody.
Visit us at foxpoint.net and StephenAllenFox.com.